All right. Welcome back to another expert interview. Really excited to have Vickie on. Vickie has a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of takeaways and nuggets here. So let's jump straight into it. Vickie, can you introduce yourself? Tell them who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Devin. My name is Vickie Musni. I've lived in Reno for 20 years this month, and my husband and I own a local company called DJ Trivia Nevada. And I also have been working for the last decade plus as a certified personality trainer. So I do one-on-one training for companies, I do individual coaching, and I speak at conferences all over for people that want to understand the soft skills of implementing personality systems into their business. So it could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be hiring and managing, it could be in how you operate yourself and being the best version of yourself as a business owner, but all things related to personalities.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking time. It was awesome to see you raise your hand, and I've always enjoyed chatting with you over the years and seeing everything you're working on. So let's talk trends. We were talking about this before we hit record. So why don't you catch us up on things that are trending in your industry that people should pay attention to, or maybe impacting what you do?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me back up a little bit and say that I have worked in weddings and events for 25 years. So a lot of my coaching and training that I do, there's a lot of overlap with wedding and event business owners. I mean, I've done other things for engineering companies and dental practices and anybody that serves the general public, hairstylists, anyone that relies on developing good personal relationships for their income. But most of my training is somehow event related. So obviously, everyone that's connected to the event world and my local business, DJ Trivia Nevada, all of our clients are restaurants and bars. It's been a rough year for people. So the trend is business is getting busier faster than anyone was really prepared for, even after all the downtime. And it's getting really hard to hire people. The pool of people looking for work, the qualified people, is getting smaller. And that's an interesting thing. So in the coaching that I do, when we're talking about, hiring, it's getting more important to try to find the right people and get it right the first time, because there isn't this huge pull of people and, oh, if that person doesn't work out, I can hire somebody else. It's more about, let's find the right person, because it does take a lot of resource to onboard someone and get them trained up. So I'm having more people reaching out and asking me things like, how do I tell from someone's resume if they're the right personality for a position, or if they're going to be a good fit for my team? And I love conversations like that. So yeah, things are growing, things are coming back. Especially in the wedding world, I mean, busier than ever, because people are doing this year's weddings and last year's weddings. And then in the restaurant world too, people are coming back and going out and traveling. And we just all need to be patient, because there's just not enough people to keep things operating the way it was before the pandemic. So be patient when you're out in public.
That is good advice. And I mean, we're seeing that with a lot of people I'm talking to. It's ramping up quick. Things are changing. And, a couple of the clients and people I know in the staffing world, you're right. It's impossible to find people, and you need to find the right ones. I've made that mistake. And every time I talk about biggest mistakes I've made in business, I hired too soon and I hired the wrong people. So, you've got to hire the right people at the right time. Without getting too deep, can you give us one or two nuggets that a business owner should look at when trying to find that person?
I think it's really important to look at a couple of things. One is, what are the personality traits that a particular position should have? If you're hiring for, say, a front desk or really forward facing to the public position, that's probably a different soft skill set than, say, your CFO or someone that is doing a lot of the behind the scenes. So be really realistic about what the ideal skill sets and personality traits for a position are. And then also, and this is probably more so for really small companies like mine, where I only have 7 employees right now, besides me and my husband, you want to look at the overall personalities on the team. And if a lot of you are maybe too, I'll just say extroverted, for example, like me, I'm all extroverted. My system, I'm what I call a red yellow. If you've got all red yellows on the team, then you probably need to look for some people that are blues and greens, like the calming, peaceful personalities, the people that are good at bookkeeping and record keeping, because that's not me naturally. So be honest about what a position needs as well as what your team overall needs, and be intentional about hiring people. If you're small and you're just hiring your first or second team member, don't try to hire someone exactly like you. You really need to be self-aware enough to hire someone whose strengths are going to fill in where you lack. Don't be intimidated by someone who has skills that you don't possess. You need that because you need all of the things. But as a business owner, you're probably not gifted in all of the things equally. I mean, as much as we want to be, as much pride as most of us take in having to wear so many different hats, when we're really honest, none of us is good at everything, not equally good at everything. Yeah, you can have some learned skills, but don't be afraid to hire someone who is opposite of you. It's really kind of important.
That's such good advice. And it's hard, right? Like we gravitate to those people who are like us and we can relate to, but when you're expanding your team, you need to diversify, especially fill those buckets. And I love that you mentioned like understanding personality traits and communication styles and all those things. It's critical to not just look at skills, right? What are how fast can they type? Can they answer a phone? Do they have a degree? Great, right? But like, what's the culture? Are they going to fit? How's it going to impact that short term and long term?
Well, and especially now. I mean, I feel like people that were on pause for so long, we've had a lot of time to reflect and process. And we're realizing that the people that we have working with us and for us, whether it's employees or clients, it's important to surround yourself with people that you like and enjoy. I feel like the longer people are in business, the pickier they get. I think when I started out, I was willing to just work for anybody that was willing to write me a check. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older and I'm losing patience, but I'm like, no, life is too short. I am not working for people that I don't enjoy, that don't bring me joy. If they are draining people, then they're not my client. And I certainly don't want to hire someone who's going to cause me to feel stressed out and drained. Like that doesn't make sense at any level. So I think just realizing that these soft skills are just as important, if not more important sometimes, than the things that you would traditionally look at. Like you said, how fast can you type and do you know how to file? Yeah, those are important. But chances are there are certain personalities that are going to be good at certain tasks. So if you can just step back and look at things through the lens of personalities, we're all human. But if you don't train yourself to think this way, we tend to just go through life operating as if everyone thinks and acts and makes decisions the same way we do. And when I say it like that, you laugh because it sounds ridiculous. We know. If I said to you, have you ever met someone who's different from you? Have you ever lived with or worked with or, given birth to some of those people? Like, we all know people are different. Like people come out of the womb with a different personality. And yet if we don't stop and think about it, we act as if our worldview is the only one. And when you think that's ridiculous, not everybody thinks the same way I do. Not everyone makes decisions the same way I do. So of course, when it's hiring or sales or marketing, to ask yourself, okay, who am I trying to reach? What language do I want to use to make sure I'm speaking to the right client? And then when I've got them in the door, we're having the conversation, what do I want to emphasize that's going to really resonate with them fastest? Because people's attention spans are short. So the sooner you can get to what I call their heart issue or their heart need, the more you're going to connect and the more likely they are to want to do business with you or join your team or whatever it is, the goal for your business, So yeah, we've just got to train ourselves to think about people as individuals with different skills and different personalities and a different way of viewing the world.
That message is more important than ever right now, I think. I think we just have seen versions of that nonstop for the last 12 to 18 months, right? Can you talk about going virtual, right? So how has that virtual work from home environment changed or impacted the need for those soft skills and how that impacts communication?
It's funny. So to simplify things, extrovert and introvert seem to be the traits that people are most familiar with. And just to clarify, extroverts are like me. We get our energy from being around other people, and introverts get their energy from recharging alone or sometimes with one select other person. So if you just look at just that trait, introvert, extrovert, there was a whole series of people that went through the pandemic really happy, loving working from home. They don't have to interact with the general public anymore. They get to work in their pajamas. They can roll out of bed and just hop online and do stuff. And then there were people like me that were going crazy because we literally could not fill our cup. Everything that I did that helped me be the me that I knew and the me that people loved to hire was because I got my energy from being around other people. And so thankfully I wasn't quarantined alone. I do have a big family, so at least I wasn't like completely isolated in those early months. But not being able to go speak at conferences, not being able to do in-person trainings, being told that I needed to do something on a webinar that I couldn't even see people. Like webinar version is not my friend. At least if I'm going to be on Zoom, I want to see all the little Brady Bunch boxes. I want to see people smile, but not being able to get feedback, or, oh my God, the absolute worst, because you just pre-record it and we'll share your video with our audience. And I'm like, no, because that's not going to be me. I become me when I'm with other people. Like that's literally how I get my energy. And so I think, yeah, everybody like reacted to the pandemic differently. And so, yeah, the extroverts were the reason why you can't get a rental car right now, why airline prices are going up, because we were like, woo, got my vaccine. I am free to go. Here I come, world. I mean, I booked 3 flights this morning already. So, I'm like ready to get back out there and see people. I had my first in-person conference that I got to co-MC the end of April. I was thrilled. I hadn't stood on a stage. I hadn't worn shoes in over a year. I had to make sure I still knew how to walk in heels, especially to go up and down the stairs, on a stage all day long. But yeah, I mean, everybody responded to the crisis differently. And I think that's important too, to remind ourselves that whatever my experience was completely different from my introverted husband, and my kids are in different places on the spectrum. And my team members were on different places of the spectrum. Some of them were like me, where they were just chomping at the bit to come back and host live events again. And others were, I'm not ready. I'm not ready till more people are 100% vaccinated. I still have questions about some of these, strands that I keep hearing about. I'm not ready to go out and serve the public face to face yet. And yeah, but for me, doing an online event, I did it because it was better than nothing. But it's not my favorite. I need to be around people.
It's true. Yeah, I taught in the spring up at Sierra Nevada University, and it's fascinating because you're right. Trying to teach virtually is interesting because the interaction is so different than reading a room. And I'm the same way, right? I get my energy from people, and the energy does not flow the same way through a computer monitor as it does in a room.
No, it just doesn't. Yeah. Well, and like when I do my workshops, my more interactive trainings, they're super hands-on. If I'm training somebody's team and I've got 12, 15 employees in a room together, we're splitting up into small groups by personality type, and we're having discussions and playing games and making posters together and sharing information. And it's really hard to replicate that. Yeah, there's breakout rooms, but it's not the same thing.
It's true though. No, and it's good that we've adapted the skill set slightly, but I agree. I mean, I think there's, a group that does that. I know I was at an event 2 weeks ago and there were 400 people, and it was like, yes, okay, now we're working, right? My energy's up. I was like super high for a couple of days, just like off of that, That's awesome. Okay.
Great.
So what are some of the biggest things that people come to you for? Why do they call you? What are they usually trying to deal with? We talked about trying to find good employees, but what's another thing or conversation that comes up frequently?
The other one I get requested the most is sales and marketing. And I think I get that the most because I work with so many people in the wedding industry. And most of them are hopefully not going to be repeat clients. I mean, yes, we want referrals. We want to do their friends' weddings or their sisters' weddings, but in general, we wish them well and we hope that that is their wedding and it lasts for a really long time. So we're constantly, people in the wedding world are always looking for new people. So I get asked a lot about marketing and sales. And I think people used to ask about sales more. And now I've kind of been like, okay, sales is a big piece of it, but the sales process actually starts earlier. You have to back it up because the reason you're not booking the right clients is because your social media and your website is not putting out the right message. So let's back up and talk about what personality clients you really love to work with. And then say, okay, what are like the trigger words for that particular personality type? And how can you work more of that lingo into your website, into your posts, so that people go, oh, they get me. That's what I want for my event or for my business. And this is the same. I mean, I use my dentist office that I did a training for. I use their website in an analogy in one of my recent books. So it's not just the wedding, it's anybody that deals with, customers, clients, or patients. They all have different personality types. And so what I tell people is, hopefully you know a lot about your business and your industry. Hopefully you can answer almost any question that anybody throws at you. But the trick is with marketing and with sales is you want to find out, what does that person's personality type, is that individual heart need? And then how can I get there the fastest? So just to give a quick overview, the one I teach, yellows, think bright, sunny, loud. That's the extroverted, fun-loving personality. Blues, think deep like the ocean. They're the really organized, everything is in a row kind of people, and much more quiet, whereas yellows are just kind of out there all over the place. Red, it's what you think of, like fiery red personality. They're the, get stuff done kind of people. And then greens are the other introverted one, the peaceful green meadows, the cool, calm, and collected peacemaker personality type. So each one has their own thing they need. Yellows are driven by an inner need for fun and attention. Blues have an inner need for perfection and order. Reds need accomplishment and efficiency, and greens need peace and comfort. So if you think about your business, hopefully you have something that can speak to all of those personalities. But thinking about that and who you're trying to market to, do you want to market mostly to green personalities? Then use a lot of words that show that you take the stress away from an event. Working with you is a simple and comfortable process. You can make life easy for them. Those are the buzzwords that resonate with a green. In the wedding industry, if you love working with yellow personalities, then talk about, my uplighting will make you feel like a princess. Then you will attract those princess personality types. So think about, yeah, you can probably do it all. Hopefully you can provide, the details and the level of depth that those blue personalities need. But if you've got a red personality or a yellow and they want just the facts, they want you to get to the point quickly, don't answer 20 questions they didn't ask. So just try to think about who are you talking to? And then personalities will help you understand, okay, what do they most need? And that will help you find that starting point to the conversation a lot sooner, rather than just guessing, or worse, saying, oh, I always do my sales presentations this way. Why would you do that when every single person has a different personality?
What are you talking about? We just do it. We've been doing it this way forever.
So yeah, I don't know. I just think this is the time, and especially now, and if your clientele is getting younger, their attention spans are getting shorter, and their experiences in general are highly personalized. They've grown up on social media apps that pay attention to what they click. Their ads are only relevant to them. You know what I mean? So you can't start with things that they don't want to hear about, because they will tune you out and you'll never get to the part they do care about. So for you, the sooner you can find out who they are and what they care about, go there. Let them drive that conversation. And researching their personality ahead of time and making a really educated guess is just going to give you one leg up.
Love that. And I love that perspective. And it's been a lot of the conversation today is perspective, right? Like, make sure you're thinking about the other person. And it relates really well. I did an interview with Ashley Pullen, and you guys should watch that because it's going to tie into the marketing conversation, right? You have to think about the buy cycle all the way to the very first touch with the client, right? Very first, right? Did they see your billboard? Did they hear a radio ad? Did they see you on TV? Was it a business card? Was it a flyer? What was the first touch? And then how many touches and what were they all the way through the buying process until they purchase. And then how do you onboard them? What's their experience once they're a client? Like there's so much more to sales, right, than just closing a deal. And there's so much more to marketing than just putting social media out there, right? You have to have a plan and think through, who am I talking to? How do they want to be talked to? It's a phenomenal advice.
Getting to their personal why faster. And this is the thing I see is a lot of people will take the same action, but they'll do it for different reasons. Like let's take online shopping, for example, because most of us were ordering a lot more online during the pandemic, even those of us that did it before. But different personalities love online shopping for different reasons. I'm a yellow. I like attention and I like fun. I online shop when I'm bored. I online shop if I'm lonely. I online shop because I get the buyer's high twice. I get it once when I click submit or place order, and I get it again because there's a package that's coming for me. And that's why yellows shop online. Blues shop online because they have oodles of research at their fingertips. They can compare brands and features and read reviews to their heart's content. Blues shop online, yellows shop online, but we do it differently and we do it for different reasons. Reds do it because it's efficient. They can just read the first 2 reviews, see the overall star rating, make their decision, and they're done. They didn't waste time driving across town, going to the store. Greens do it because it's easy. My son shops online because he doesn't want to talk to a sales associate. He's that introverted. So we all do it. But if you can figure out why someone is making that decision, then you know where to start your process to serve them even better and to meet their needs sooner. So why not take that extra step and figure out the why?
I love that. And I love if we drill down, a lot of conversations I have are around proposals, right? So if you're selling a service, what is your proposal template and how does that kind of presentation meeting go? I think is so critical. And so many people have built a proposal that is either so simple it doesn't allow you to adjust to other personalities, or it's so cumbersome that you're dragging 2 of those personality types through something that they'd rather kill you, right? So you have to really think through that, guys. And it's everything. It's from, your flyers. You can't just have one flyer unless you have one specific type of client, which I don't know any industries, because people are people, right? Like you're going to have a variety of people. So I love that. And thank you so much for the analogies. I think it allows people to really understand and think through business and their marketing and sales and hiring different, and in a way that's critical, right? We have to think through those things. Otherwise, we're just blasting our message and hoping the few people like us get it.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't really want all of my clients to be exactly like me. I don't know.
I'm stubborn as hell, so I know I don't want all my clients to be like me.
There's the fun me, and then there's the difficult me that's very opinionated, and I don't need all of that.
That's awesome. So let's pivot a little bit, and let's talk business. You've been in business for a long time. You've also been in business with your husband, so you've got a family business. Thinking back on your business journey, what are 1 or 2 things that you would tell you if you were starting over? What are some of those things you've learned that you have to share?
I think if you're going to work with your spouse, it took us a really long time to figure out the best system. But yeah, the earlier you can define clear roles, who's responsible for what, the better off you will be. And we were just kind of making things up as we went along. So our 25th wedding anniversary is coming up this August. And we started our first business at our wedding 25 years ago, kind of by accident. It was a wedding video business. My husband had just graduated from animation school and he did this really cool video, which back in 1996, people couldn't make on their phones. Nobody even had scanners. This was pre-digital photography. And the fact that we could take pictures, scan them, animate them, and put in words and music and do something really cool. People were literally coming up to us at our own wedding saying, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Can we get your business cards? And we had a wedding video business for about 15 years that grew out of that. And then we switched about 8 years ago to entertainment. So we do DJ and MC weddings, but we also have a focus on our trivia company. And so we learned a lot the hard way. And right now I feel like we finally found our groove. My husband is super good with all things technical, and I don't love that part. So yeah, when I book a new client, I do sales, marketing, and hiring. When I book a new bar or restaurant that wants to bring trivia in, all I do is set up an appointment for him to go in and examine their TVs and see what we need, where we need to put speakers and how we're going to set up our transmitters. And if he needs to hardwire, if we can do it wirelessly. He's really, really good at that. I don't love doing the bookkeeping. He was doing it for a lot of years. His schedule is more full now, so I hired us a bookkeeper. I'm still not good at that, and I still don't love it, but it really is important. And now that I've got Megan on my team, she's great. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before. You've got to not be afraid to hire people who are better at certain things than you are. I know that's a really good thing. My bookkeeper darn well better be better at bookkeeping than me, because I was having trouble with it. I had invoices that weren't getting reconciled and clients that were really behind. And it's really hard to explain to your employees when you forget to do payroll that week and they don't get paid on time. Like, I want my people to stay. So I'm really grateful that I have Megan helping me stay on track. My personality needs that. So but it wasn't fair for me to just dump everything on my husband that I didn't love to do. I had to step back and say, okay, what's realistic? What's going to be good for both of us? Is this a good job for him? Is this a good task for me? And if it doesn't fall either one of those, how do I hire it out? And, to keep our marriage on track and our relationship how it needed to be. So that's one thing I wished I would have figured out a lot sooner.
Well, the role definition, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a spouse, whether it's another form of family, whether you're siblings, role definition is critical, right? If you're going to work with others, even if you're going to have employees, right? Understanding who does what the expectations are and what falls into whose bucket, so critical, right? And it's more critical because there's an emotional and a family aspect to it, right? When you add that level in. And I loved your comment on hiring experts, right? I can't say it enough, right? Like, I don't know enough about insurance, right, to sell every type of insurance. Like, I need someone who knows that, I didn't go to law school, right? I can push buttons in QuickBooks, but I damn sure shouldn't, right? So
I should be writing my own contract, for example,
I shouldn't, right? So be okay bringing those experts in, and yeah, they cost you money, but every one of those experts will say the same thing, right? It's going to cost you way less on the front end than it's going to cost you on the back.
They don't cost you money. What costs you money is having so much ego that you think you can do it all, and then realizing the hard way that you can't. That's what's really going to cost you. It's going to cost you team members. It's going to cost you dollars. It's going to cost you clients. So yeah, be realistic. And I guess the other advice I want to say is that not all good advice is good advice for you.
Oh, yes.
And I think there's so many people that mean well, but if I hear another person say, all you have to do is get up at 5 a.m. and start your day right, I'm just like, okay, I'm really happy that works for you, but I am a miserable person and no one wants to be around me if I've been up at 5 a.m. I cannot help it. I am my best in the afternoon. I'm a pretty good night owl, which is also why I work in the event industry. Nobody expects me to be functioning at 5 a.m. I mean, except for my East Coast clients, but they've learned they just can't contact me until afternoon, and I'm up and going by 9, and that's fine. So yeah, that may be good advice for some people. And maybe this goes back to my love of personalities and my acceptance that everybody is unique. Not all good advice is good for you. So try something, and if it's not working, try something else. Don't feel like, oh, just because I respect this person and they say this works for them, it may not work for you, and that is okay.
I love that. As a young entrepreneur, and I love talking to young business owners, and that doesn't mean age, it just means you're early in your journey, right? You may be early in your journey late in life, you may be early in your journey young. And I had mentors, and I highly recommend you have mentors, right? You have to seek advice from people. You have to have guidance for things you don't know. However, because I did it, don't just jump when your mentor says, hey, I think going left makes sense. No, they're telling you going left makes sense from their point of view, their perspective, and their history, right? You have to take that advice and apply it to who you are, what your business looks like, and understand how it applies to your dynamics. Vickie, that's gold information. That advice right there will save people a ton of time, a ton of money. I mean, I know I did it. I've made a couple of those jumps, and then you look back and you're like, you know what, going right was the right decision, but I should have went this far right, not this far right.
It was the right thing, but not at the right time. And nobody else knows your life like you do, your family dynamics. You and I were talking before the show, our kids are at very different ages and in stages. I've got a daughter who's about to move home after living in New York for a few years. And you were talking about your 2-year-old that hasn't taken a nap yet. And, so wherever we are, that's just one example in our businesses. What works for me in this stage may not work for you in what you're dealing with, so be realistic, yourself. So yes, seek mentors, seek advice, but trust your instincts at the same time.
Oh, man, that could have been the whole interview right there. That's why we do it though. That's why we have these conversations, because the point of this is everybody's been on a journey and everyone's learned something. And if we can share something that resonates with you and it saves you time or it allows you to pivot faster, that's all I could ask for, right? Like let's help you on your journey. And I'm sure I'm going to learn from all of you on your journey. So we're coming towards the end of our time. I always like to just kind of leave it open at the end. Is there anything else you want to put in here, talking to business owners, professionals who are growing, anything you want them to hear, know, think about?
Well, I guess I just want to encourage you to do some research. And yes, I have a personality system that I love, but it's not the only great one out there. So use one of them, even if it's not the one that I teach, but you're welcome to check out the free resources at vickiemusni.com, or on Facebook, it's Speaker Vickie Musni. And then I do have a Facebook group for people that want to specifically talk about personalities and how it relates to business. And that's a smaller group where you're just mostly other business owners. And that is called the Color Box. So yeah, find me. I'm on Instagram, but mostly it's DJ Trivia in Nevada for my local business. And then my Vickie Musni is mostly personal and some personality stuff. But yeah, but the only strictly personality stuff, go to the website. And I've got some free resources, a free little quiz you can take, some articles on the blog. Or on Facebook, where I post a lot of personality related things. So yeah, do some research and start implementing it however you can, and reach out to me if you have questions.
Perfect. And below this video, you guys will see all those links. So feel free to click on them. There'll also be a click here that'll take you to a form. Put your name and email in. There's a message box. Let Vickie know what you need. She'll get back to you. We've had a ton of great conversations over the years. I love watching everything she does. Make sure, again, seek advice, right? If this resonates with you, talk to Vickie. If there's someone in your circle who does this, talk to them, right? Find and pursue it, because there's some critical pieces to this conversation that are going to apply really, really important right now that you adjust. So Vickie, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. And I'm sure we'll end up doing this again because there was some great content.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. It was great to connect with you. And I look forward to watching and listening to more interviews with other experts.
Awesome. Thanks, Vickie.